A great tragedy struck Israel tonight. An Iranian-made ballistic missile reportedly fell into Israel's national stadium while an international football match was underway. The attack took place amidst a packed stadium filled with tens of thousands of spectators. In a matter of seconds, the cheers of the fans turned into screams and mass panic. The massive explosion destroyed most of the stadium structure. The roof collapsed, the stands broke, and flames immediately swept across the pitch. The fire spread rapidly, making the evacuation even more chaotic. Thousands of people were reported killed instantly, while injured people piled up around the stadium, waiting for help. The live broadcast camera, which was initially covering the match, instead recorded the moments when the stadium turned into a sea of flames. For TV viewers, this match could be called the shortest highlight in history. The game started but ended almost immediately. Israeli authorities conceded that their defense system could not intercept the missile. The Iron Dome, celebrated as the most sophisticated air defense, proved ineffective when it was most needed. Iron Dome is said to be immune to attacks, but it turns out to be iron-doomed when a stray missile hits the stadium. The radar system did not detect the threat, causing thousands of lives to be lost without any protection. Conditions on the ground are very worrying. Medical teams, soldiers, and volunteers tried to evacuate the victims, but the numbers were too great. Ambulances were piled up at the exit. The highway is completely jammed, and hospitals around the city are overcrowded. Many victims were trapped under concrete rubble, and the flames continued to hamper rescue efforts. The once magnificent stadium has now been transformed into an all-you-can-burn food court, where what is served is not food, but smoke and embers. This triangle caused deep sorrow. Instead of cheering, attendees were forced to witness the most extensive devastation ever seen in Israeli sports. The VIP sections, typically secure areas for dignitaries, were completely destroyed. The acronym VIP now sarcastically stands for Very Instant Pancake. Israel is now facing a national disaster of unimaginable proportions. It's not just about the loss of life, which reached thousands, but also the total failure of their defense system. The international community began to question how a large stadium in the heart of Israel could be destroyed in just one attack. The football match that was supposed to be public entertainment tonight actually marked Israel's biggest defeat, not on the field, but at home. After a huge explosion hit the Israel National Stadium, the atmosphere inside the stadium turned into hell. Thousands of spectators who were previously sitting neatly in the stands now scattered, pushing each other, stepping on each other, trying to find a way out. The narrow access road made the panic worse. Many were trapped in the concrete rubble as the fire spread to various corners of the stands. Medical teams were overwhelmed by the huge number of victims. Although numerous ambulances waited outside, they were insufficient for the continuous influx of casualties. The closest hospital quickly became overwhelmed with patients. Many injured individuals were forced to lie in corridors, and even the parking area due to lack of space. Medical personnel are working non-stop trying to help anyone who is still breathing. For medical personnel, this is no longer a rescue mission, but more like a job interview with the angel of life. The chaos worsened when the stadium's power went out due to the explosion. The lights were out, leaving only the light of fires burning in various corners of the thousand. Thick smoke makes thousands of people short of breath. Many children and elderly people fainted before they could get out. The cell phone cameras of surviving spectators captured the tense atmosphere. Cries, screams for help, and bodies scattered across the green field. The stadium turf that FIFA usually praises has now become the world's most expensive corpse carpet. Security forces tried to organize an evacuation, but the number of officers was too small compared to the tens of thousands of spectators. Several locked exits added to the panic of the crowd. Paradoxically, emergency exits, meant for escape, were more securely locked than confidential state information. The North Stand, which held thousands, completely gave way. Concrete and metal debris rained down on the densely packed fans below. Many victims were immediately buried alive. Cries for help could be heard faintly from behind the rubble, but rescue teams had difficulty getting through the fire and debris. The VIP stands that were once full of dignitaries were now empty. Maybe because the officials fled before the people. The death toll is estimated to have reached thousands of people in just the first hour after the attack. This number continues to increase because many seriously injured victims cannot be helped. Mass evacuations continued until late at night. The road to the stadium turned into a path of corpses and injured victims. Ambulances took turns coming in and out, carrying bodies covered in white cloth. Globally, this disaster started to draw significant attention. Nevertheless, for those Israelis present at the stadium that night, a stark reality prevailed. They had attended to enjoy a match, only to leave having lost loved ones, companions, and in some cases, their own lives. This match proved one thing. In Israel, a stadium ticket isn't just a price for entertainment. It can be a one-way ticket to the afterlife. The tragedy of the collapse of the Israeli National Stadium not only claimed thousands of lives, but also shook the future of Israeli football on the international stage. Stadiums that were the center of international matches are now razed to the ground, and Israel's sports infrastructure is on the verge of collapse. The Israel Football Federation, IVA, immediately announced the temporary suspension of all domestic competitions. Local football clubs no longer have suitable stadiums, and international competition schedules are in danger of being disrupted. FIFA, in an official statement, expressed its concern and called this incident the biggest human tragedy ever to occur in the world of sport. But that statement doesn't change the harsh reality that Israel will most likely not be able to participate in the 2026 World Cup. Not because it lost in the qualifying round, but because its stadium was included in the qualifying round. Eliminated directly by the missile before it could host the match, players from the Israeli national team who endured the event were left deeply traumatized. Numerous players mourned the loss of family members, friends, and dedicated supporters who regularly attended games. All training and preparatory activities for the national team ceased entirely. Some players refused to speak to the media, while others cried during interviews. Israel has always been known for its toughness in politics, but it turns out their steely mentality melted when their own stadium turned into a giant oven. Losing the national stadium also means losing Israel's football development center. The youth academy that usually trains in the stadium is now without a place. The new generation of footballers is in danger of stagnating, and the Israeli national team is in danger of regressing several decades. On the other hand, neighboring countries gave varying reactions. Several Middle Eastern football federations have openly criticized Israel. There are harsh comments circulating. Israel has been diligently marking its opponents on the field, but apparently forgot to mark missiles from the sky. For FIFA, this case is a big dilemma. Disqualifying Israel from the World Cup would be perceived as an inhumane act. However, allowing them to participate without a functioning stadium is also illogical. Discussions are underway regarding the possibility of relocating their matches to a different nation. However, the final decision has not been announced yet. This news crushed the spirits of Israeli football fans. Those who survived the stadium tragedy now lose their rallying place and national pride. Fans who usually fuss about ticket prices now realize yesterday's tickets were a buy one seat, get one grave promo package. With the current situation uncertain, the 2026 World Cup could take place without Israel. A great irony considering that they had been fighting hard to qualify, but lost before they even had a chance to compete. Football in Israel is no longer about who scores the most goals, but about who lives to tell the story of the last game they saw. The tragedy of the collapse of the Israeli National Stadium due to an Iranian ballistic missile strike has not only become a sporting issue, but has also shaken international politics. The world was immediately divided in its response to this incident. The Israeli government quickly held an emergency press conference. The prime minister charged Iran with deliberately targeting civilians in its attacks. Israel vowed to retaliate with strong measures. Nevertheless, numerous observers pointed out the harsh reality of the defense system's total failure. For Israel's political opposition, this failure was like an immediate red card, not only for national defense, but also for the credibility of the government. Meanwhile, Iran remains silent in front of the international media. Despite the lack of an official claim, some Middle Eastern media outlets have suggested that the missile was simply a technical test that happened to land in the stadium. Harsh sarcasm also emerged. If Israel can test missiles in the desert, why can't Iran test them on a green field? Global reactions were varied. The United States expressed sympathy and offered medical assistance, but remained cautious, not wanting open warfare to escalate. The European Union condemned the attack, but also criticized Israel's negligence in protecting its people. Some analysts even wrote that Iranian was more busy showing off in arms export brochures than protecting stadiums full of its own people. Most Arab nations maintained their silence on the matter, yet a surge of sarcastic remarks appeared across social media platforms. The hashtag #GameOverIsrael became a trending topic. Netizens sarcastically wrote that the match was the shortest friendly match in the world between an Iranian missile against an Israeli stadium. The score is clearly a one-stadium missile. At home, the Israeli people are increasingly angry. Demonstrations have begun to emerge in several cities demanding answers from the government. Many citizens felt betrayed because the defense they had been so proud of had failed at the most crucial moment. A demonstrator writes on a protest cardboard, "If Iron Dome is an advertisement, then our stadium is the victim. Terms and conditions apply." This tragedy also added to tensions in the Middle East. Some neighboring countries fear an Israeli retaliatory strike could trigger a regional war. Global bodies urged all involved parties to show restraint. Despite this, a cynical sentiment persisted among diplomatic circles. Certain individuals have observed that Israeli stadiums are being destroyed more quickly than the protracted peace negotiations have progressed over decades. In a geopolitical context, the destruction of this stadium embarrassed Israel in the eyes of the world. So far, they have claimed to be one of the most prepared military forces, but in reality, a missile could penetrate the defenses and level the people's entertainment center. For many observers, this is like a top national team losing not because the opponent was stronger, but because they were playing barefoot on the field. Israel now faces a big dilemma. Does it respond with a larger attack or suffer the shame on the international stage of admitting failure to protect its people? Whatever the outcome, this stadium tragedy will be recorded not only as a sporting disaster, but also as a long-lasting political and military scandal.